it's just one of those like most iconic Act 2 openers, maybe of all time.
Yes.
Maybe the most iconic. Hi everyone, welcome back to Off to Broadway, the podcast where we deep dive into anything and everything musical theater from the comfort of my car. I'm Tara.
I'm Stefania.
And in today's episode, we're back with another ranking episode, and this time we're talking all about Act 2 opening numbers. Now, we've kind of had this on a list for a while, and I feel like it's because we thought that there were so many good ones. But going through, I'm like, are there? I don't know.
I agree. I had a bit of a hard time picking out the best. Even the ones I have as the best, I do think they're great, but I don't know if this is the top category for me. None of these were like, well, not none. Some of these are very inspiring, but I think, okay, I have theories. Let's get into my theories right off the bat. So I think they're in a really difficult spot in the show, in that the audience has just had a break. The audience has just been like ordering drinks at the bar. They've been unwrapping their candies. They're eating in Canada like a Haagen-Dazs. Do they do that in the States? I don't know. In Canada, we always get a Haagen-Dazs at intermission.
There is ice cream in the States, but most people are drinking in the States, which is wild because of the price of the alcohol there.
Oh my God, it's crazy. So I feel like the Act 2 opener, a lot of times does not contain anything important because people are still getting back to their seats.
It's not like a
filler
plot-driven, sometimes, but not usually.
So yeah, it's maybe a big dance number or maybe kind of like a character moment, because everyone's still like shuffling through their seats, getting back to their seats, finishing their ice cream, finishing their drink, waiting to get in from the lobby. So they have to fit into the story, but a lot of times they don't have the main characters in them, or a lot of times they're just kind of mood setting numbers because you don't want your audience to be missing an integral part of the story while, you know, someone 2 rows ahead of them is like, excuse me, sorry, excuse me, sorry, excuse me, excuse me. So yeah, they kind of are weird in my opinion.
No, I agree. I think, like, as we go through them, there will be definitely some on the list that, like, kind of break that mold. But it is true. Like, you're always going to have people that, like, as soon as the Act 2 opener song ends, you have, like, a sea of people coming through the aisles to find their seats because they were too busy, like, in the lineup for the bathroom. So it can't be something that's like, oh, my God, we've just solved this big plot point because 20 people just missed that. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it is kind of interesting. I wonder if it's hard to write the Act 2 opener. Like, where does this come for a composer when they're writing a show? Is it something that they're just like, oh, whatever, it's a filler song, let's get it out of the way? Or is it like, oh, this is actually really difficult to think of because I can't use it the way that I would use other songs in a show?
Right, and usually at the end of Act 1, you've had this huge, emotionally story-heightened moment, and then this is what in the story is immediately following it, but you can't pick up exactly where you left off because your audience is just, they're not in it in that moment anymore. So you need to ease them kind of back in a little bit.
Unless you are Rodgers and Hammerstein's Cinderella, which literally Act 1 ends with, like, Topher picking up the shoe and, like, running off stage, and Act 2 starts the exact same way. And I'm like, you know what?
That's
Love
good.
that.
That's fun.
Yeah.
But it kind of repeats a little bit, right? Doesn't it? Like, it overlaps. Yes. So they're like, okay, remember this? Remember we just did this?
And then it goes into, like, Stepsister's Lament.
This is what you missed on Glee. Here, we got the shoe, we did this. Yeah, I was, like, looking at Cinderella, and I was like, why would a fella want to go?
Iconic.
Amazing.
It's not on my list, but, like, it's an iconic Act 2 opener.
I almost put it on my, like, long list, but I was like, this
It's iconic only for, like, Anne Harada, but, like...
Why would a fella want to go? Marla Mandel. Celine Dion herself. I was trying to explain, okay, so this is like a tangent, but I was trying to explain Titanic to my mother in the aftermath of the submersible situation.
What a week it's been. What a week it's been.
What a week. I was just trying to, like, explain Titanic to someone.
Imagine going to the show that night.
Through the lens of the submersible. I cannot. Anyway, back to this.
Wild. Should we jump straight in?
Okay, yes, let's jump straight in. As per usual per our ranking episodes, we've each picked 5. We ranked them. Our 5th favorite to our 1st favorite will alternate one after the other. We shall see. We didn't compare our list at all this time. So what if we have the exact same list? We shall see. Who knows? Maybe, maybe not. And then we'll talk about some other ones and maybe some ones that we think are bad and maybe some shows that don't have Act 2 openers at all and why we think that is or what's going on there.
Also, we didn't like really make rules for this specific episode, but I can probably speak for both of us that like an untracked is not on either of our lists.
Untracked does not count. That's actually when you should be like, excuse me, sorry, excuse me, excuse me. And I'll mention something. I was looking at & Juliet, right? And I don't think that show has an Act 2 opener. The first song is, in Act 2 is Love Me Like You Do, but it's kind of a brief comedy scene moment. It's not.
I would argue though that it's such a funny Act 2 opener.
It's so funny. But it's not. Yeah, it's not in a traditional sense.
Wow, that just made me think like of people walking in. Like, imagine if you're sitting in the first row of & Juliet and like Romeo's singing "Love Me Like You Do." If I was Romeo, I would like sing it to the member of the audience that's walking to their seat.
Me like you do. La 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 me like you.
Yeah,
do. So funny.
And then it goes straight into what? Since You've Been Gone. So I guess that's like kind of which like fits the mold of like big dancey number to kick off.
Yeah,
like that.
But there's like a big chunky scene first.
Yeah, it's true.
And so I think from my perspective, if there's like a short scene before the song, it still counts. But if there's a bigger scene before that song, like if we're really propelling story, then no, it's not the Act 2 opener. It's just another song. That's maybe my only rule that I had.
Give us your number 5.
Okay, so my number 5, this is actually maybe my favorite style of Act 2 opener, which is the big dance number. And so I'm gonna go a little back. I'm gonna go with Too Darn Hot from Kiss Me Kate.
Wow.
So I think a lot of Act 2 openers owe themselves to this specific song and this specific style of opening Act 2. We're in rehearsal for a show. Maybe there's a song that'll come up later, but we're in rehearsal for a show and we do
I thought you said no jukebox musicals are on your list.
They're not. They're
what
not.
A lie.
I'm just assuming it's on your list. But yeah, so like not to say it, but I think that particular opening number that we'll get to later takes a lot from this opening number and the style of this opening number.
Yeah.
So it is a huge dance rehearsal, and then this is a place for the ensemble to show off their talents, their dancing, their like high energy, getting you back into the tone of the show. And a lot of times it has not the main characters as the stars of the number. It has kind of like our secondary characters leading this number, and then our main characters coming after. Especially because if it's a big dance number, usually our leads are, working behind the bar or like singers only.
Not dancing.
Not dancing.
Especially if you're a man. If you're a male lead,
exactly. You're behind the bar. You're washing a glass. That glass has never been cleaner. But like, yeah, so the opening number gets you back into the tone of the show. Specifically, it's high energy. It's like pay attention, grabs your attention back. And it's just, and this song is absolutely so fun and like absolutely one of my favorites of a classic musical. And then you're back into the show, and then your main characters can come out after. So it's done the job of making sure that the audience is no longer like unwrapping their candies, that they're focused and they're like they can't look away, so that you can get back into the story.
Okay, my number 5. This is a show that like I don't love, but I think that there are moments from it that are great, including this Act 2 opener, and that is King of New York from Newsies. I think sort of same kind of vein, huge tap number.
Look at me.
Huge
the
tap
newspaper.
number. No, that's the other song. That's Seize the Day. That's Seize the Day.
Oh, you're right. You're so right. This is the tap number. You're so right.
Yeah, this is the big tap number. But same thing, like Jack Kelly, not there. Jeremy Jordan was not about to dance in this big tap number. But like, what's it? Like Ben Fankhauser is in it. Like Catherine Plummer leads this number. It's basically the part of the show when like her article that she's written about the strike, they're actually like looking for Jack, is where we kind of like come back after this. And she's showing them her newspaper article about the strike, how it made the New York, I think it's the New York Times, or whatever their like version of the New York Times is in Newsies. But like, wow, is it a good dance number? And it's such a good like comeback from intermission, because you're like, oh, we really ended. The Act 1 finale is Santa Fe, which is like a very
solo emotional moment.
Yeah, like a big belty number with one character on stage, and then you come back from intermission with like all the newsboys like dancing their hearts out. They're dancing on tables. Like, it's so much fun. And I just remember like seeing it for the first time on tour. I was like, wow, this is a really great number. I also think the song is really fun, and it's a good like upbeat like boy singing song. But then when we watched that like the movie like film version of it, that's a song that they were able to like shoot so well, because you could really get into like their feet. And like a big tap number is always great.
We love a tap number. Never go wrong with a tap number.
But yeah, I don't love Newsies. I know the internet loves Newsies, so...
Yeah, Newsies is like okay for me. I think there are great moments in it, but the best parts for me are always when you've got 30 boys on stage dancing, and King of New York is a great example of that. And
it's so
tapping,
fun.
You know?
So fun.
Tapping.
Yeah.
Okay,
your number 4.
My number 4. We're back in the 80s. We're back with a Stephen Sondheim show. And
I knew this was going to be on your list.
Did you?
I think so.
I don't think you know. Anyway. Okay, so this show specifically is notorious for having a huge tonal shift from Act 1 to Act 2.
Oh, never mind.
Never mind. I surprised you. Has a huge tonal shift from Act 1 to Act 2, and I think the Act 2 opener is key in doing that. And so it's hot up here from Sunday in the Park with George. So Act 1 ends with they've painted this. The song is Sunday. They've painted this beautiful painting. You know, George has gone
That's
in
so
and taken the
interesting.
glass off the little girl.
Not that Newsies and Sunday are even remotely close to the same show, but both end their acts with a huge, like, beautiful ballad.
You're sobbing when they're singing Sunday.
Yeah.
You're like...
And Santa Fe.
And Santa Fe, yeah. It's the most beautiful thing. I remember when we saw Sunday, I will never forget, just like the first note.
The visual.
They sing like Sunday. I'm just like weeping. And the visual of them creating the painting. Right in front of you.
Gorgeous.
Beautiful. Right? And so you're like, this is beautiful. This is art. This is creation. This is genius. And then Act 2 opens with this song where the characters are complaining about being stuck in this painting, and they're so hot all the time, and it kind of jars you out of what you experienced in Act 1 and kind of introduces you into the world of Act 2, which again is a huge tonal shift from what has happened in Act 1. And I think it's a funny like comedy song, and it's funny, and it doesn't require a huge amount of choreography and staging, because they're, for the most part, you know, they're stuck in their painting, they're in their spot, they're not moving. So it's just, I think it works so well to get you into that space. Now we're in a gallery, now we're seeing these, they've been in this painting for however many years, and now we're going to see the outside perspective of people looking at that painting with them stuck in it. And I think it just works so well to take you into Act 2 and into the lives of these paintings. And it's so fun.
Great.
And it, to me, it's emblematic of Sondheim's cleverness with music and with lyric and character, and I love it. I think it's great.
It is interesting because, like, it definitely does set you up for, like, wow, we're not really watching the same
This is not George and Dot's story anymore.
Yeah. But then we kind of go into, like, a really weird place in Act 2, so I don't even know that we end up with a similar story to how we started in Act 2. So, like, Sunday's a very interesting show.
Act 2 is an interesting show. Act 2 is an interesting show. Act 2 is very interesting as a companion to Act 1.
Yeah, because, like, I feel like you could argue that you could just end it with Act 1 because Act 2 really doesn't, but then you're missing some, like, great songs. So I don't know. I want to see it, like, I know we saw it, but, like, I want to see it.
Production. A more fully staged production.
And also, like, one where we're in a different kind of audience. Then, like, we were kind of, like, in the round.
Yeah.
So I'd be interested to see it not in the round. I don't know.
Yeah, I would, of course, love to see it again. Yeah, I think Act 2... It drags. It does drag. So I actually think of Sunday in the Park with George, and I don't know if everyone will understand this. Maybe they will. Maybe I'm not that clever. But I think of it and Into the Woods very similarly, because the Act 1 of both of those shows is such a fully formed story, and it ends with a finale, and then Act 2 is almost a different show that's in conversation with Act 1. It's like, okay, you saw this, and now I'm going to come at it from a different angle, and I'm going to approach it in a different way. And in Into the Woods, it's with the exact same characters, and you're kind of following up what happens after you've accomplished this, and you're kind of, and in Sunday in the Park with George, Act 2 is about this artist who is in the shadow of George Seurat, or who is attempting to create art to match, and what happens if you are unable to do that, and what happens if you if you're not able to achieve the greatness that you've set out to achieve. And so, in my opinion anyway, that's kind of what I see it to be about. And so I both of those shows, to me, really speak to me, because I love that it's not like a traditional full story arc structure. It's that you have this complete story and then another story that untangles the first story. And so, anyway, does that make sense?
Yes, there's a lot there. The show is could do an essay on this show, I feel. Maybe a lot of Sondheim pieces you could do a corresponding essay too.
I'm sure there are so many, and I'm sure what I've just said is not even that original or unique, but that's just kind of how I see.
Why aren't theater programs taking kids to see Sondheim shows and having them write papers about it? Maybe they are, but they're not here.
We've never been in a
We've never done that.
That's so true. Maybe we should. An essay for our next podcast. No,
It's been a while. It's been a while.
No homework. Anyway, what is your number 4?
Okay, my number 4, we're back with another boys number. I love this song. I love the show. And it is from Dogfight. It's Hometown Heroes Ticker Tape Parade. So again, another act 1 that ends kind of on a somber ballad with Rose singing Pretty Funny after the dogfight has happened. And then we open up with this guys number of them meeting these prostitutes, and Eddie not really being a part of it. One, the vocal performance on this song is outrageous. The energy is unmatched. Another when I'll never forget, I still think about that you weren't there, but when Char and I saw this at Sheridan, and all of the boys lined up to sing this song, it was just I don't know, there's something about male harmonies that I don't think we get enough of these days, and when you get them, you hold on to them because they're so good. This is one of my favorite, I feel you feel the same, but this is one of my favorite cast recordings of all time. I think it's so well done, and this song really does have
and Paul's best show.
Yeah, I know, we always say we got to talk about them, but nothing will top this. That's the problem.
I know. Yeah, we've kind of approached them in many different ways, piecemeal ways, but yeah, I agree.
But yeah, so this song is kind of just the recklessness of these army bros, and then Eddie just deciding that he doesn't want to be a part of it. But it's such a high energy song, and I feel a perfect way to open Act 2, but not so much, as we said at the beginning of this episode, not a lot of plots happening here. You're just watching them have fun and trying to sleep with this prostitute, and then the rest of the plot unfolds, and how everything turns out later is discovered after this number. I'm what is the next song after this? And it's another fave, First Date Last Night. So what a perfect run. Yeah. You know what? We're doing really well right now. We've done 4 songs here, no crossovers.
Look at this. I think who knows? Okay, let's see what happens next. Okay. Wow. My number 3. This is another one that is so tonally different from how Act 2 ended. I think intentionally, because the character who is singing this song is in the dark as to what's happened at the end of Act 2. So there's a bit of... The audience has this information that the character doesn't have, which makes this really fun, light song kind of really heartbreaking, but also it works as this kind of light moment before you go into the darkness that is kind of the rest of the show. So this is I Feel Pretty from West Side Story. You have this, I feel like West Side Story is in all of my lists, but it's because
it was in your Act 1 finales too.
Because the Rumble, those
the Rumble
two songs, the Rumble. So, okay, so actually,
looking at this list, I'm pretty sure my number 1 was my number 1 Act 1 finale, but we'll get to it when we get to it.
That's crazy. That's so funny. Oh my goodness. Yeah. I think this was my number 1. I don't remember anymore. I have to look back.
I think the Rumble was your number 1.
It would have been my number 1. Yeah, so, I mean, I love West Side Story. I did that, bracket on TikTok where you pick like the top 16 shows, and like West Side Story made it to the top for me because I just think it's a wonderful show. So this is actually interesting. So when we saw the West Side Story 2019-2020 production, the short-lived doomed production, that was a one-act version, and they actually cut this song because I think probably for many reasons, but I think the major reason is with the 90-minute version, you were kind of on a train. They didn't want you to get off. And
it's very like intense the whole time.
It was so intense, and they were just building that tenseness throughout the whole thing. And I Feel Pretty in there would have taken away from it.
Would have broken.
It would have broken it, which you could have said you needed. I think they could have worked it in. I have ideas for how they could have done that, but
you should call up Evo Van Hove.
Maybe we can revive. Evo, why don't you just call Taylor up? But yeah, so when you have this super intense moment that happens at the end of Act 1, then you break for 20 minutes, everyone's eating their Haagen-Dazs, and then you come back, and instead of picking up right in that intensity, you have Maria, who is still excited about this boy that she's met. She's feeling like love for the first time,
well,
and she's
also,
capturing
like,
that.
She doesn't know about,
exactly.
like, the aftermath of the Rumble.
She doesn't know, which is what makes it so good, is because you as an audience know, and she doesn't know. So it's this light, happy, beautiful, pretty song that kind of describes this feeling of first love. And at the same time, it's all about crashing down. Like, this is dramatic irony at its core, where the audience has more information than the characters on stage. And so there's like layers upon layers that you're reading into this song. And yeah, I think it works as well because sometimes you need a little bit of a break, a little bit of, lightness in a show, especially when it is almost 3 hours long, to make sure that you're not just like it's not so heavy.
I do understand like why it wasn't there in the 2019, and then I had watched the original West Side Story obviously before we saw the like newer one, but like seeing the new version after watching the 2019 version, I was like, oh, I get it. Like, I understand why this wasn't there.
It's purpose and why it wasn't there. Yes.
They consulted, right, with Sondheim to remove it? They must have.
Yes, because Sondheim did work on the Evo Van Hove 2020 production. He was somewhat involved. And
I want to know his real thoughts on that.
I'm curious. He was open to change in his shows and adaptation, so that's maybe one of like this not the only, like one of the sad things is because while he was alive, you could consult him and ask, what do you think of this? How do you think of changing this? And now I feel like a lot of his shows are going to be frozen in time as to what the last version was. But so for my perspective, that 2020 West Side Story, I think we just needed to hear more from Maria. We needed to hear more from her inner thoughts. It was a very like boy heavy show, which is great. And like the Rumble was so good, so intense, oh my God. So crazy.
As wild as that was, there are moments of that show that I actually think were like genius.
Yeah. Think about
like I think all the time. Like it's one of the shows that is like always like rotating in my mind.
But I just wanted to hear more from Maria, and I think it could have been as simple as having her a cappella waiting for Tony, like dancing around her bedroom or something, and singing a few bars of that song. Just a nod, and also I want to understand how she's feeling, and I don't know if we ever quite got how she was feeling
until like the very end when she has that whole like monologue with the gun. But like
I want to see her how like we need to understand how in love she is that drives her to her actions that come after.
Yeah, and like one of the only like sets in quotation was like her room where she was sewing, so they definitely could have done something like in that room as opposed to like the rest of the show that was screens really only except for like Doc Shop. But like a lot of it, like they built that set like for her. She had a place like for herself, so like we could have used it there. But kind of throwing back to when they sang together or when they had the scene together earlier, kind of her maybe recreating. He's like dancing with her in that room.
Yeah, exactly.
She could have been like dancing with a dress or something.
Exactly. Yeah. Her kind of recreating those things by herself. Evo! Singing Evo! But at the same time, like, that show was
tight.
It was tight. So, yeah. But there were, obviously it wasn't a perfect show. Like, there are things, but And one of those things was I just needed to hear more from her feelings to understand her motivations moving forward.
Right.
And without that song, you kind of miss, like, you know, she literally sleeps with this man after she finds out he's killed her brother. And
it's more
this,
jarring when I Feel Pretty
crazy.
is in the show.
Yes, but you understand she's like the exuberance she's feeling about this man and like the feelings that she has for him. And without that song, you don't quite get that. So anyway, I love this introduction into Act 2 of I Feel Pretty for West Side Story.
All right. Okay, my number 3. I feel like if you were to like poll an audience, this would probably be on everyone's list of their favorite number from an Act 2, and it's from a show that we're about to see in a couple weeks, and it's Seasons of Love from Rent. What's so interesting me...
This is an overlap here.
I was wondering, because I didn't know if you liked Seasons of Love, you know?
I think, well, mine's a little bit
We skipped
higher.
it from our love song category because we were both like, we don't think that this is really a love song, but a lot of people would consider it.
We had stronger rules for the love song category. It's a little bit higher for me, so maybe I'll wait.
Okay, great. Oh my god, is it your number 1? Okay, well, wait. Okay, so I kind of like, so this is kind of like the opposite. I feel like Act 1 ends on such a high of La Vie Boheme, like
high energy.
We're dancing on tables, like so much is going on, and then we come back to this moment on stage when everyone is just like standing in a line singing this beautiful song. But I think like the reason why I love it so much is it's like the last time we see them sing together before Angel dies. And it also, and it's at the top of the act, like we see them interact with each other, but they're really not like all singing together again until like the very, very end, but like Angel is already gone. It's just like such a beautiful scene. It's such a beautiful song. I think it's a very powerful scene and song, and nothing is really happening on stage. They're just standing in a line. There's like not really any set moments. And yeah, I can understand why it's higher on your list. But it's just, I think, again, what I said earlier, like if you were to poll an audience, I think everybody would have this probably at the top, if not at the top, somewhere in the middle of their list. It's just one of those like most iconic Act 2 openers, maybe of all time.
Yes.
Maybe the most iconic.
Well, let's go into my number 2. My number 2 is a song from a musical. This actually maybe goes against the rules that I've been talking about because this one is so dense with information. It does do a little recap.
Wow, I think this is about to be my number 1.
Wow, this is so funny. Okay, it's so
maybe,
dense,
I'm not sure.
It's so dense with information, but it does a little bit of a recap, and it kind of, you know, resets you for Act 2 because we have a couple character changes. Some actors who are playing characters in Act 1 are playing different characters in Act 2.
Never mind.
So my number 2 Act 2 opener is from the musical Hamilton. It's What Did I Miss?
Can I make a confession?
Make a confession.
I don't like this song.
Wow, this is crazy. Thomas Jefferson.
I like it as a overall scene, but I'm also kind of like, meh.
So interesting.
It's on my long list, but yeah.
It's on the long list. Yeah. What I think is so great about it is because Act 1 has been telling the story of, you know, the revolution and getting America to be a country. And Act 2 tells the story, well, now we're a country. How do we do this? And it introduces some new characters. So this song does the dual duty of kind of letting you know what happened in Act 1, introducing you to this new, very important character, Thomas Jefferson, who we haven't met before, giving you like a Cole's Notes on where he's been and what he's about to do.
We've like heard his name, but that's it.
Yes, we've heard his name. Gives him a Cole's Notes of where he's been and what he's about to do, and also lets us know, okay, now we are about to govern this country. This is actually crazy. Sometimes when I talk about Hamilton, I'm like, this is actually so funny that we're so passionate about American history. Government.
We did not learn any of this in school.
No, maybe that's why, why it gripped us so much, because this was like brand new information. Did not know who Alexander Hamilton was until Hamilton the musical came out.
And like when you're listening to and watching Hamilton, you're like, this is crazy.
Yeah, you're like, Thomas
like, this
Jefferson's
happened?
coming home. Yeah, and it's so high energy, and I
You know why I also, sorry to interrupt you, why
Tell me.
I also feel like this song is like sometimes hit or miss for me? It
Sure.
really depends on the performance of the actor that's giving.
Absolutely.
And I've seen many
You're
that
so
I'm like,
right.
meh.
You are so right. I feel like
Which is kind of hard for an act 2 opener if you don't like
it's all
the
on
way
his
that
shoulders.
it's, yeah.
It's all on this actor's shoulders.
And I didn't love the way that it was played in Toronto, so I was kind of like, skip.
I literally don't remember who played this.
I feel like you didn't really enjoy
I feel
either.
like you're right that I didn't love it.
Like David's?
Yeah, and that's the thing. So I've listened to, for me, like so much of this is the cast recording. I've seen Hamilton 4 times right now, but the performance that stays with me and I remember of this song is David Diggs' performance.
Yeah.
It's not hard to explain, but yeah, every time I see it and then I leave and then I'm like, David.
Yeah. I like, truly, for anyone that hasn't seen Hamilton or has seen Hamilton, like the Jefferson, what's the other, Lafayette track, I think is the hardest to match.
It's so true. He was giving such a specific performance, and yeah, not
because
everyone
like
matched that. I agree.
Every time we've seen it, there's always been like a standout. This time for me, and I think for you guys, was Burr. Like
Burr.
That was
Agreed.
like just as good as Leslie Odom Jr., but like no one has ever quite matched David, which is so hard.
No,
so
it's
tough.
crazy. I think so much of it was catered to his specific talents.
Yeah.
The fast rapping, obviously.
But even just his like tone of voice.
Yes, the kind of, I don't even know, but yeah, his tone of voice is so specific. Yeah, I just think this song does a great job of doing so much. It's so dense with information and it gets you up to speed so quickly. And it's entertaining at that. And I think what more could you ask for from an Act 2 opener?
Yeah. Yeah, I really think my like love-hate with it is like the performance, which is so hard because the song itself is fun. And I do love what the ensemble is doing. They're doing so much in that.
They're always doing so much. The ensemble in Hamilton is always doing so much.
If we've said this before, but like if you are seeing Hamilton for like multiple viewings, like really just watch the ensemble one time just to see how much work they're doing because it's actually crazy.
This last time I saw it, I really was just like, what's going
ensemble
on back
sniping?
there?
Yeah,
what's
so was
going on
I.
in the corner over here?
I know.
Oh, what's this set moment? What's this?
Because like you
scene
can.
change
It's like,
moment?
I know what Hamilton's doing, but I don't know
Yeah.
what this one girl is doing putting on a jacket in the very back corner. Like I want to see
I was
it.
really watching the costume changes this time.
No, I know. It's exciting stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, my number 2, we have reached the moment. This is, we've talked about it 1,000 times on this podcast. There has never been an Act 2 opener that has made me as excited as this one has. And it's obviously Backstage Romance from Moulin Rouge. Normally, our rule is to not have jukebox musicals on here, and 24 hours ago, I didn't have it, but then we discussed very briefly today, and I put it on the list because I was like, oh, we're open to jukebox? How can I not put the song that actually made me feel everything when I saw it? As you said, very similar to the Kiss Me Kate mold. And I would kind of argue that like it does drive the plot a bit because you're kind of led to believe that in intermission, when we were all off living our lives in our version of the Moulin Rouge, Christian and Satine were together and Santiago and Nini were together, and now we're getting a glimpse of their romance. I think like one, we can talk about this for days, but like the song mashup is unbelievable. Like it's so well thought out. I always think back to this moment of like when we saw it for the very first time and like literally how we felt. But I want to know how the cast felt when they heard this for the first time and we're like, so we're gonna do this, and then like you guys are gonna dance like this. It's just like the song's one thing. I think the way that it opens with the two of them sitting on the chair and like Christian like narrating that like another backstage romance was happening, brilliant. Then we get like the dancing, which is like some of the craziest choreography I've ever seen on stage ever. And not to mention like the lighting that's going along with it. It is so thrilling to see. And then like the end of that number when, oh my God, what is his name? Sar. But what's the character's name?
Toulouse-Lautrec.
Yes. When Toulouse is like, I have notes. Like, amazing. It's amazing. Like, there is literally, like, to me, honestly, this could be number one because I think it truly is a perfect Act 2 opening number. And also, like, this is a show that literally is high after high after high after high. We've gone into intermission with Elephant Love Medley. We've come out of intermission with Backstage Romance. I'm, like, in another world right now. And then you stay on that track till the end of the show. Like, I've never heard from anyone that's seen this show, like, they're always coming out talking about this number. And if you read any, like, of the Broadway boards, like, everyone is talking about this and how phenomenal it is. So, yeah, what a great Act 2 opener.
I truly feel we need to give credit to Sonia Taye, the choreographer of Moulin Rouge on Broadway, who is doing some of her best work ever in this show. I believe this is the first Broadway show she ever choreographed, so really absolute, like, star.
Wild.
She's always been a star, but this is star making for me on Broadway. And yeah, so I think it does move the plot forward because you are kind of seeing the development of Christian and, oh my god, what's her name?
Satine.
Wow, crazy. Satine's relationship, you know, the beautiful stage pictures of them both being lifted and, like, reaching for each other. And when they throw Christian across the stage, they throw him across the stage. It's crazy stuff. But yes, it does kind of focus on the secondary characters of the Argentinian and
Santiago.
Santiago, yeah. Exactly. And it kind of focuses on their love story to kind of bring us back in. So even if you missed this, which I wouldn't recommend you do, but sometimes you will see someone being escorted to their seat with a wine glass after this number is over.
And you're like, how dare you?
Like,
how dare you miss this?
Excuse me.
So it's like, can we rewind and watch that again?
I know. Even if you miss this, you know, you're not missing, like, a huge plot moment, but it does add so much to the story. And it's like, hello, grabs your attention and puts your eyes straight back on the stage. Like, you cannot look away.
It's so interesting because I've now seen Moulin Rouge 4 times. The first time we saw it was, like, the craziest audience experience ever, because all of us were just like, what is going on here? But then, like, the most recent time that I saw this, like, the applause is still, like, it does not stop for, like, 2 minutes after this number, because everyone that's seen it is, like, telling all of their friends about this number because you're, like, ready to go. I'm like sitting beside my brother primed for this opening number, and he had seen it too. And then like Corey is sitting on the other side of the theater, and literally I remember at the end of this, I looked down the aisle, like, across the theater over at Corey, who was just, like, looking at me and was like, yes,
good
like
stuff,
thumbs up, like,
stuff.
This is it, this is so good. It's just like it's like, I don't even know the word for it. It's like energetic theater at its best. And yeah, like, what a way to open your show. But also, like, yeah, hearing what we're saying, like, do not miss this if you're going to see Moulin Rouge and you think that, like, you need to line up for the bathroom and you're like, I'll just wait, I know they're starting the show.
Pre-order your drinks at the bar. Pre-order your drinks at the bar so they're ready at this time of intermission.
This is like not to be missed. And I kind of love that, like, whenever they've performed this on the Olivier's, I believe. They've performed it a lot more in the UK, but I kind of love that they have not performed it, like, in the States. They're kind of, like, keeping this secret that, like, only if you go to the theater.
Video does not capture it the way
it really
doesn't. Which you can say for most theater, but I think really this song, it is not able to be captured properly. And it's something that I always talk about on this podcast so much that I love, like, storytelling through dance. Storytelling through dance is this song, is this moment. And, like, so a lot of the times when we do these ranking episodes, as you were saying, we eliminate jukebox musicals from contention. We haven't done that this time because just of the function that an Act 2 opener has in a show is different than, let's say, like, an I Want song or a love song that we've done.
Yeah, it's not like you need to be able to, like, write this for a character type thing. Yeah, although this does feel like it could be written for these characters.
Yeah, the way it's been arranged so much, it has been written in a way,
like, rewritten
using,
for them,
yeah, exactly, but using existing material and existing stories.
So good.
So yeah, absolutely. Okay,
we're
at my number one. My number one.
Also, proud of us because we really only had one crossover.
I don't know what your number one is. Okay, I have a thought. But
my number one? It's pretty obvious.
I have a thought, but we shall see. Okay, So, yeah, my number one here is Seasons of Love from Rent. And I think this might be surprising from me because I don't, like, super love Rent. I mean, I'm so excited to see it in a few weeks. But Rent, I'm kind of, like, meh on. But the thing about this song is that it has transcended theater. It has transcended Broadway. It has transcended this show to just become a cultural moment. And that's why it has to be the number one for me. You know, again, we talk about the difference in structures between Act 1 and Act 2. And Act 1 of Rent takes place over a day and a half, basically.
Yeah.
And Act 2 of Rent takes place over a year. And Seasons of Love introduces us to that concept. It's how do you measure a year? And then we're about to show you. And the simplicity in the staging of it and just letting the voices and the music speak for itself. You know, we're at a point now where this song, you just hear that first chord, that first piano chord, and you're just already there because it has become so iconic. Think about
literally one of our first, carpool karaoke, and then one of our first videos ever on Instagram was when we did the Rent live episode, and we did like a singing in the backseat of the car, and it's literally the first note of Seasons of Love, and it's me and you like, ah.
Like, no, it's so true. It transcends so much. Even non-theater fans know this song because it's a great song generally, and also it works so well in the context of this show. I have like one weird thing about it. What do you think of it being at the beginning of the movie and not at the midpoint?
So I feel like that was literally just a gateway. It's like, you guys know this song, gotta put it at the beginning of the movie so that you continue to watch all the way through.
Sure.
Like, otherwise people are gonna be like, where is the one song I know from this movie? But I almost wish they did it twice.
So, like, I actually understand why they put it at the beginning of the show. I get your reason, but my other reason is because it's kind of like outside of the story moment, and I think it would be weird to take that like break in the middle to have this like moment where staged moment in the movie. So I understand why they did it so differently. I'm thinking back to Rent Live when they did Seasons of Love extremely differently, and they were kind of like walking around, right?
Yes.
And they staged it differently, staged it in a story way as opposed to the simple way.
Characters all around the industrial set, from what I remember.
And I didn't necessarily love that, but I understood why they did that, because when you don't have a traditional act break, it's odd to have such a change in form for one song. But yeah, I think it's one of those songs that only works staged this way on stage. And when you try to put it in a different form, it's kind of gets a little funky.
Okay, my number one.
Here we go.
Do you think you know what it is?
Okay, like, I'm looking at my list, and I am leaning towards Thank Goodness.
It is Thank Goodness.
Okay. That was hard. That was a risky moment. Okay. Woo! Woo!
I thought when you were going into... What song were you just talking? Oh, What Did I Miss? When you were talking about how, like, this kind of defeats the purpose of, like, a main character singing, giving us, a lot of, like, background information. I was like, oh, she's talking about Galinda. But, like, no, you were talking about Thomas Jefferson.
Two very similar people.
Very similar.
Very similar.
So, yeah, I'm pretty sure my Act 1 finale's number one was Defying Gravity, and... Which, if it was, this is crazy that my Act 2 opener's number one is Thank Goodness, both sung by the two witches of the show. But I really do think that this is a song that gives Galinda her voice. And it's so interesting because, like, again, Defying Gravity is such a powerful way to, like, lead you into an intermission break. And some would argue that Thank Goodness is, like, not a great way to, like, come back, whether you like, I don't know, I feel like there's a lot of people that don't like the song.
It's a bit hard to listen to on the cast recording sometimes because it has so many different elements to it.
Yeah.
And musical styles and people into it. But yeah, the more I listen to Wicked, the more like I love this song and love certain moments of it.
This one kind of like breaks the format because like technically there's an on track, but like it's at the very beginning of this song. It's like dun 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 before we like get into it. But it's basically like Galinda and Fiyero announcing their engagement, and also like everyone's trying to figure out like who this wicked witch is. Should we go after her? Like what is whatever. But it's also what becomes like a very heartbreaking storyline of Galinda realizing that she's losing the love of her life in front of her eyes. And obviously it's that like bridges we cross, we never cross moment. It's really seeing Galinda in a different, like she's a totally different character than she was in Act 1 at the top of this act.
Yeah, like at the end of Act 1, you know, there was a fork in the road and Elphaba took one path and Glinda took the other path. And now Glinda is on this path that she's taken, and she's thinking about this other path that she has not taken. The bridges you cross, you didn't know you crossed. Like, she is thinking about what her other options would have been if she's made the right choice, but she feels stuck in this moment. And she's thinking about her friend who is on this different path, who she now has to, like, spurn publicly.
Well, because she's kind of like, she's a public figure now. She's Galinda the Good, and Elphaba has like made herself bad. It's so interesting. I was talking
they're
to
publicly enemies, but they're best friends.
Yeah, exactly. But like, also, the love of her life is in love with her. Like, it's so there's a big love triangle here.
Triangle?
I was talking to my coworker the other day about like what we were recording, and he was like, have you guys done a Wicked episode yet? And I was like, no, we're saving it for the movie. But it's true, we literally have not like deep dived into the world of Wicked
episode. We did a Stephen
we
Schwartz
did, but
episode.
we didn't get into like the nitty gritty of the storylines of Wicked. I did do a Wicked episode with Patrick Flynn on the Original Cast podcast.
You did.
But yeah, I don't think it was like, definitely not the first time I saw Wicked, I was like, this is the song. But as I continue to listen to it, I'm like, this is the song. Because like Galinda is just so much more, like she has so much more to her than most people think. She's not just like surface. You gotta dig.
So as I've aged, I have really started to relate to Glinda more. Because, well, wow, I don't even know if this is true, but let's go with this. Like, when you're young, you see Elphaba, and you're like, she's so cool, she does all these things, and
she's
a
fly.
star, and she's rebellious, and she stands up for what she believes in, which I love. But with Glinda, like, as you become older, and you just kind of go to work every day, and you, like, I don't know, live your, like, normal life. I like see in Glinda, it's like she has these ideas and these goals, but it's not all clicking into place the way she always thought it was going to, and her having to like grapple with that, I think is like a very relatable storyline for just like, and like anyone in adulthood, you know, having these plans, having these goals, being, you know, when Glinda went to school, she was a star, she was so popular, and then when you get older, you have to, you know, fit all those things into the rest of your life and say, oh, this didn't actually go the way I thought it was going to, and now what do I do with that? And I think that's like a very relatable feeling. So as I've gotten older, like Glinda, I've related to so much more.
Even just the lyrics, which are so simple, but the way, honestly, we've watched a lot of compilation videos, and the inflection really does change everything from actor to actor.
When you speak, that thrill. You know,
that
and
thrill.
If that joy, that thrill doesn't thrill like you think it will.
And also,
if you get what you wanted, and it doesn't feel the way you thought it would feel.
To backtrack even that, the like, I couldn't be happier simply, not simply. It's like, oh my God. Like, ow, that hurts.
She got what she wanted, but it wasn't quite so simple.
It wasn't easy. It's not how she thought it would be. When she gets to this place, it's just like, oh no, it's actually not so simple just to be happy. Like, I'm actually not happy. Like, that's, but she can't say that because she's like speaking
why wouldn't I be
to
happy?
the masses.
Why wouldn't I be happy?
Anyway,
I got everything I wanted.
I just think there is like so much to this song. We could dissect it like even more. Honestly, we could go like lyric by lyric and talk about how great this song is. But
that bridge, that full like Glinda solo moment.
There's a kind of a sort of like, it's just there's a couple of things get lost. There are bridges you crossed. You didn't know you crossed until you crossed.
No, my favorite
end of that joy, that thrill.
The spoken, that thrill.
With like whoever's singing it, sometimes like their voice breaks and you're like, feel that. I feel that.
Thrill, like you think it will.
Still.
And the way she flips her voice at the end to be like happy, and she's like, thank goodness.
Yeah,
Did you hear me?
it's
Did you
like,
hear me?
oh, okay.
Yeah. She's opera. She's going. Did you hear that? Did you hear that?
Yeah, I heard that. That's soprano. I heard that soprano pop out there.
Cast
no, but it's true. She has this moment she has this moment of weakness when she says to Fiera, like, fetch me a refreshment, and then she thinks about everything and has this moment of like, oh God, this isn't what I thought it would be. But then it's like, gotta turn it back on because the people are listening to my announcement. And I'm like, you know what? I respect you, Galinda. So
yes,
yeah.
Honestly, like seeing them film what we think is that scene in the like
I know
grainy drone videos. Watching Jonathan Bailey like stalk off to get her a refreshment.
You know what? I can't wait for everybody and including us, to get to like early December, so you can hear Wicked Part 1.
2024.
Oh, you're right. I keep forgetting.
Next year.
Sorry, next year.
I'm gonna be old when this comes out. I'm gonna be
when the second part comes out,
oh my God. I'm gonna be 32. Okay.
Okay, so that's our top 10. Some honorable mentions. One I think is an easy top 6, and I'm actually surprised that it wasn't on either of our lists. One of the most iconic Act 2 openers of all time, Masquerade from the Phantom of the Opera.
Masquerade. It is kind of iconic. It just kind of like takes so long to get going. I'm like,
but like, what a moment!
It is a moment. Masquerade is a moment. I think I've told the story before, but like when I saw it on Broadway, I've only ever seen Phantom of the Opera once, and I saw it on Broadway, and it took me way too long to realize like most of those people were mannequins. The mannequins. Yeah. It really took a long time to know that most of those people were mannequins. No, it is iconic. It is one of those ones where it's giving some plot, but not plot. It's giving spectacle. It's giving spectacle. The costumes are obviously like beautiful, and then when the Phantom comes in to like ruin their party, iconic. Like it's a really fun Act 2 opener. But yeah, I guess like they're just repeating the same lines over and over, so I guess it's not the choreography.
Yeah.
Okay, one I really love. This is actually kind of an iconic one, and I was kind of regretting not putting it in my top 5, but Whipped into Shape from Legally Blonde.
I know, I almost had it in my top 5 too.
So good. Like, it's so good.
What a high energy.
The choreography.
Act 1 ends on such a high, was so much better. We come right back into Act 2 with a skip rope number.
The skip rope. Yes. This is actually a lot of plot in this song.
Well, yeah, it's like Brooke's entire storyline happens,
and then it freezes, and then Callahan is like introducing the case,
part.
telling you what's wrong, and she's in like all these positions freezing. It's so good. Yeah, love that one.
Another one that I love from Shrek, Morning Person. That's a really fun tap number. It kind of gives you a view into like what Fiona is like outside of the castle before she actually becomes an ogre. Really, really fun. Another one that I'm like kind of shocked is not on your list, but maybe because we've talked about the show 1,000 times, but On the Right Track from Pippin. Hello.
Yes. So that one has like a bit of a chunky scene before. So that's why I was kind of like,
I guess, but on the cast recording itself, it's on track and then straight into On the Right Track.
Well, yeah, the cast recording doesn't have a chunky scene in it. Doesn't have a chunky scene.
I don't remember the chunky scene, but it's been a while.
It's not a huge chunky scene, but like, yeah, like it's, I don't know, I don't quite see it as an opening number, but I do
also,
love
what's the one from Company? I thought that might have been on your list.
I do love Side by Side by Side. Yeah, that's really like the birthday party. The birthday party is Side by Side.
But also the birthday party and everyone's like drugged out.
Yes, it's kind of wacky. It's kind of giving Wizomania when you really think about it. Can't wait to see how they do Wizomania in the movie. So many. So one that I was listening to last night, actually, that because I haven't seen the show, I didn't know was the Act 2 opener, which is why, I don't know, if I'm not as familiar, I didn't feel as good, but we're going to get to see the show this year, hopefully. Letters, that opens Act 2 of Great Comet, or Natasha Pierre and the Great Comet of 1812.
We've definitely talked about this song before,
because it is probably my favorite song in that cast recording.
It might have been an obsession of yours.
Yes, it is just, or maybe another song was an obsession, but Letters from Natasha Pierre and the Great Comet of 1812 is my favorite song to listen to from the cast recording. It just slaps. It really is so fun. The way the like bass of the song goes in, It's really great, and I cannot wait to see the show and see it in action.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Another few, just to like bring it up.
I have one to end us off, so go through your
Okay,
few.
let me just go through a few others that I really love. Ghost, Rain, Hold On.
Great.
So good. One of my favorite, like literally that Act 1 finale and that Act 2 opener are my two favorite songs from Ghost, the musical.
I had a life.
In the Heights, Sunrise, which was cut from the movie. And I love, again, it's not our main characters, it's our secondary characters, it's our side 2 characters. You're getting story, but it's also just like romance. It's just easing you back into the story before you have to go. And I just think it's one of the most beautiful songs, like a beautiful, beautiful love song. Falsetto Land, falsettos. Great.
But also
So
crazy.
Crazy. And I think it's fun. It's fun in that way. One I don't love from a show I do love, but The Guilty Ones from Spring Awakening. Kind of weird. Mm-hmm. Like, I understand it, but...
Yeah, but we also kind of, like... I like I Believe, but I don't love I Believe, so we kind of, like, end...
Well, again,
on
functionally,
that.
I Believe is kind of a weird song because it's the ensemble singing it as Wenla and Melchior, like, have sex in the hay bales, so it's just kind of a funky scene moment.
But The Guilty Ones kind of sounds a bit like I Believe, so maybe they were like hoping, well, because you do open Act 2 with like the same way
it picks up right where you left off.
We pick up with the sex scene, so maybe that's the purpose.
Yes. Another show I don't like, but I actually think this is a good opening number for the show. We saw this show recently, Tara. Why Are All the Dice With Dying? I think it's funny. I think it's good. Like, I think it works.
I can't believe this is even on a list.
When I saw it on this list, I was like, this song actually is good. And I liked it when we saw it recently. We saw a community theater production. Have we talked about this on here? I can't remember.
We haven't.
We saw a community theater production of Gentleman's Guide to Love and Murder, which was something.
You know what? We're not going to get into it, but just to get into it slightly, I don't think it's anyone's fault but the book of the show.
Absolutely. No. The cast was doing what they needed to do.
But seeing a community theater version of a show that you're already met on,
it exposes the holes.
It really shows you why you don't like a show. Yeah,
really exposes.
That's just kind of like a generic thought I have, that like if you don't like something and then you see it regionally, you still don't like it.
No, you're gonna hate it. You're really gonna like it less. You're gonna like it a lot less. Weird racial things happening in that show. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anyway, Prince Ali from Aladdin. Prince Ali.
Great.
So good. Bring It On. It's all happening. Gotta address it.
That could have been on your list.
It's such a good song. Imagine the boys. Imagine the band. So good. Book of Mormon. You're making things up again, Arnold. I think it's actually really good.
There was a moment when I thought that Spooky Mormon Hell Dream opened Act 2, and if it did, it actually might have been on my list.
No, you're making things up again, which is, I think,
making things up again.
So another show that I really love, which the Act 2 opener doesn't quite always work for me, is Next to Normal, Wish I Were Here. A great song, but I feel like it should be like the third song in the act and not the first song in the act.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Another one I'm going to do like 3 more. I'm going to do 3 more. 2 I like and 1 I don't like. From Parade, A Rumblin' and a Rollin'.
Good.
That came up on a playlist last night and I was like, this song is so good. So good. I'd forgotten about it and then I heard it and I was like, okay, this is really great. I really like Steam Heat from the Pajama Game. Again, just a fun, Fosse dance number. No complaints. So good. Mm-hmm. And then one I don't like, Hughie. From Frozen.
Horrible.
The worst song of all time.
I was mortified when I saw Frozen because it was so unexpected. You know, you're like, okay, Oaken's got to be in this somehow, but like that's not what I thought. Everyone's like running on stage like wearing these horrible mesh outfits. They're supposed to be like naked but wearing like I hate it. That number can go.
Worst song ever.
I have one final one to add to this list. It's a show that we love. We have not talked about it in a very long time. But one of maybe the most jarring yet iconic Act 2 opening numbers is Here Comes James Hewitt from Diana the Musical.
That was not in my list at all. I couldn't even fathom what you were about to say. And then when you said it, and I was like, in shock. When he comes up on that mechanical bull, shirtless.
Like nothing I've ever seen before.
No,
I just remember when we watched this, like, virtually together during the pandemic, we were like...
Should we do that again?
We were just like, what is happening? And I unfortunately had spoiled myself on Twitter, but you didn't know that it was about to happen. What a way to open Act 2. What ends Act 1 of Diana? Oh, pretty, pretty girl. Great. Great.
Pretty, pretty girl.
The dress change? Great.
The dress, oh my god. Oh, Diana.
Wow, you clearly don't watch Diana as much as I do to have these, like, reactions.
Oh, I haven't seen it in a while. I
actually feel like the last time I watched it, you were here, which
probably
was, I don't
like,
even know
like
when that
Christmas,
was. We just,
like
put it on.
Yeah, it's just good for the background, a good background moment. So much about Diana is iconic. And isn't it...
Can we talk about the fact that they're doing it in the UK?
Yeah, like a concert thing. And they're having two actresses play Diana, like a young Diana and an older Diana, which I think is an interesting concept.
You know what? Live stream it. I'll pay for it.
And I honestly... And also Gina DeWall. Gina DeWall, miss her. Even though she's in Sweet
on Broadway.
She's in the ensemble. She's covering.
She's Lovett understudy.
Yeah. Isn't she the bigger woman understudy?
She's both.
Oh, she's both. Okay.
I'll never forget when, like, a bunch of theater influencers I follow on Twitter were in New York at the same time when Gina DeWall was making her Lovett debut, and they all bought tickets to go. Like, no one was like, gotta wait to see Annalee Ashford. They're like, oh my god, this is the moment I've been waiting for.
Gina DeWall.
Yeah. All right. Well, that was our Act 2 opening numbers. We talked about it today very briefly, but I feel like Tearjerkers is, like, making its way higher and higher on our list of ones that we need to do. It was inspired by the winner of this year's Jimmy Awards, Lauren, singing With You from Ghost, and I was like, that's obviously on my list. Yeah. I won't tell you where, but it's probably pretty high. Although, remember we were talking about this because Wait, did I sacrifice it in my favorite flops? I might have sacrificed it.
You might have used it in your favorite flops.
But I don't know. We didn't make a rule that you can't, like, repeat songs, so we'll see.
Yeah, we don't have a rule. I think that might have been a self-imposed rule that you can break.
I remember, like...
It's been time.
I remember the sacrifice happening because I was distraught about it, but it's been a long time since we've
it's a favorite flop.
Recorded favorite flop. I know. I couldn't believe when Ghost wasn't one of your favorite flops.
I have many a flop.
You had many. All of your favorite shows are flops.
All my favorite shows. American Psycho.
Bring it back. Someone was talking about this the other day on Twitter. They're like, remember American Psycho? Let's revive that.
Well, that, but also because of the other two, Helena York was in American Psycho on Broadway. She was his girlfriend. I can't remember her name, but she's like, Patrick.
Did you watch season 2?
No, because it's not.
Oh, right.
I don't have Crave.
I forgot. Season 3 is out now. I have to watch it. I honestly, this is just a blanket statement recommendation, but, like, watch the other two. It's so funny.
Josh Segarra, my favorite.
This was a you recommendation to me during the pandemic, and then I'm now ahead.
You are now ahead because I don't have Crave. I might just need to figure out a way, but
I'll send you a link.
Send me 1 to 3 movies.
We didn't say that. That didn't happen.
Sub today's gone or whatever. Doesn't matter. Okay.
You gotta get, like, a VPN and watch it on HBO Max. Okay, let's move on to our obsession of the week.
So my obsession this week. This past weekend was a New York City Center Encore's production.
We were talking about this.
We were talking of The Light in the Piazza, which is an absolutely stunning musical. And this actually is kind of reminding me, there was a TikTok that I saw of someone where it's like, we have to talk, I can't even give them credit, but we have to talk about how a lot of musicals are boring and we love them for it. And this is one of those ones that is kind of boring, but great. And I just think it's beautiful. It's just like,
it's kind of a blind spot for me, not gonna lie.
I just listened to the cast recording and I just think the way it sweeps, it's written by Adam Gettle, who I don't even know what else he's written, like, not that much. That's okay.
No, but it's kind of like a name that is always spoken about.
Really, really beautiful music. He did the score for To Kill a Mockingbird. That's so interesting.
Oh, I kind of remember this.
I kind of remember that too. He did Floyd Collins, which...
Wait, sorry, I've seen Floyd Collins, like a version of Floyd Collins.
Yeah, you didn't like it.
No. Back to Kill a Mockingbird for a second. Have we talked about on this podcast that it's coming to Mirvish after our, like, pipe dream?
We were like, David Mirvish is all over this. And turns out he is.
He is.
He is all over this.
Sorry, that just reminded me.
It's coming. We're gonna go. I'll see it. Is someone famous doing the tour?
I don't know. But also, to be off track again for a second, they just released a video of Lena Hall singing from In Dreams. Looks good.
I'm excited for this. So basically, and this also kind of ties in to what I'm assuming is going to be your obsession, but the Jimmy Awards.
It's not.
Oh, wow.
But let's talk about it.
The Jimmy Awards competitor last year, Anna Zabelson, is in this production of The Light in the Piazza, and so my obsession is her singing The Beauty Is. There's a video on Playbill's YouTube channel of her just singing it. And this song is
gorgeous,
stunning. Her voice is stunning. This song is stunning. This video is just her at a piano. There are like trailers for the production that you can see. And also when I first heard these songs, actually maybe that's not true, but I was in Florence last year and this musical takes place in Florence, and the like opening song is this song like Statues and Stories, and they're in the piazza. I can't remember what the piazza's called, but where they have all the statues, obviously. And that's where a lot of the action takes place, in this piazza. And her hat goes flying, and just the imagery that they create with that song, and then imagining being in that piazza in Florence, it's so beautiful. It's just like a beautiful, slow, kind of gorgeous show that I love. I just think it's like, in my mind, it's a little bit different than a lot of things that we see, in that it allows itself to be slow.
Yeah.
And I like that about it. Not everything is allowed to be this slow. It doesn't always work, but I think it really works really well in this show. Almost like it's on Italian time, this show. It's on...
Also, like, the reviews out of this production... I wonder if it would transfer. I wonder.
I mean, City Center has been sending things to Broadway with consistency recently.
Successfully sending things to Broadway.
I talked about Anna Zabelson. I mean, we cannot not talk about Ruth Grant Miles. Sometimes I think about her and I like cry, but like I
literally read an article the other day about like everything that happened, and I was like, I can't believe she's still doing what she's doing.
Whenever she like performs, like she's in Sweeney Todd right now, she just took like a week off to do this. And when she did The King and I, like she did The King and I originally on Broadway pre what happened to her, and then she did it in the West End after what happened to her, and I'm like, sometimes you're like, how do you go on? Anyway, now I'm just like crying talking about her. But she's so talented, so beautiful, and you know, playing a mother in this show. Anyway, whatever. Ugh. And I don't have like a fully formed thing on it, but there's been much made of it, like having an Asian family as the central family in this show, which is different. It was originally Victoria Clark and Kelly O'Hara, who are amazing, beautiful, stunning. But I think that having an Asian family at the center of the show, one, because they're beautiful, talented actresses, like why wouldn't they get to play these parts? But also I think it adds to, they are not from the country that they are in. They do not blend in the same way that a white family blends into the country that they are visiting. And I think that adds to the story in a way that hasn't been done in previous major productions that I've seen. So I really like that choice because I want to see them sing these beautiful songs, but also because I think it adds additional context that is good.
Also, culturally, the like it's mother-daughter, yes?
Yeah, it's a mother and daughter.
The mother-daughter relationship is very different culturally. We kind of actually spoke to Brandon about this with Next to Normal when it was here in Toronto, how like you don't talk about certain things. He didn't talk about certain things growing up in an Asian household. There was stigma around certain things in Asian cultures. Like, again, I don't know like the deep depths of like the storyline of Light in the Piazza, but I can imagine that like culturally it's very different than like a white family going through this. So like,
yeah, I mean, it is about a young girl who is developmentally challenged. And so that's kind of, yeah, it's interesting. Yeah. I wasn't even thinking from that perspective. I was more just thinking about how, you know, they're obviously different from where they are visiting. But that's an additional, like, huge context that I think really adds. And I think when you're casting, when you, obviously, like, why wouldn't you want to have Ruth Ann Miles play this part? But then you have her in this part, and it's added, like, so many different layers to it. Like, it's only improving the show.
Yeah, for sure. Also, not to talk about the Jimmy Awards, because it's not my obsession this week. The Jimmy Awards were yesterday.
It almost
was,
but Wondering and won again.
So good. He was so good. Langston. Shout out to Langston and Lauren, the winners of this year's Jimmy Awards.
Can't believe someone sang With You and won again. I don't know,
someone said we're really going to keep Ghost alive. Like, every time someone sings With You from Ghost, we had an extra 5 years to the life of Ghost. Like, it just keeps happening.
Ghost will never die. die.
But she sang a song from Allegiance for her solos. Yes. And that's a song that's not in the, like, Allegiance is not in the roster of songs that people sing for the Jimmy Awards. So,
Absolutely.
like, shout out for going off the books.
Culturally conscious, like, not everyone should be singing a song from Allegiance, but for what's her name again?
She could have sang With You from Ghost, but she didn't.
Anna Zabelson, you know, culturally is appropriate to sing a song from Allegiance, and we love like, what high school's doing Allegiance? Or was this her solo song?
No, it was her solo. It was her solo.
Never mind. The high school's not doing
No, but that's what I mean. Like, she was being intentional about her song choice. Yeah. Whereas, like, sorry to Langston, but, like, Wondering, boring. Like, it's a boring song.
It's tired. I'm tired.
You know that? Do you know what the winning song was for the guy last year? Take one guess.
Was last year the, like, COVID year where it was from Jesus Christ Superstar?
No. Last year was, like, staged as well.
Was it another JRB moment? It's gotta have been.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, was it Bridges Again?
No.
Was it what's it called? Songs for New World?
No.
Was it Parade?
Good. It was Parade.
But
what was it?
Not Cancel All Your Parties.
It was Cancel All Your Parties. It was This Is Not Over Yet. I was like, this is a duet.
Well, you just see the first
part. Literally, last night, I always love to, like, go to the previous, like, to see what they sung, because, like, it's been a year, I don't remember. I'm like, this kid sang Parade.
Like, Cancel All Your Parties.
It was good.
I'm sure it was. No, we've talked about how Jason R. Brown writes a wonderful character song. He writes a wonderful character song.
That somehow every single teenage boy competing in the Jimmy Awards is like,
literally 3 years ago,
40-year-old man.
Literally 3 years ago, someone won singing Wondering. Ethan something, if I remember his name.
Ethan Kelso
won singing Wondering. And the girls sang,
Jason Robert
I'm Here.
Brown. Oh, there are always a lot of I'm Here. I was saying to Steph earlier when we weren't recording, but, like, no Astonishings last night, and I was surprised.
Crazy.
The girls' song choices were actually, like, quite good. The girls just, like, weren't as talented as the boys. Now that we're here, we're going to go into it a tiny bit. But, like, the girls, other than, like, With You, which is a classic solo song, we've heard it last year, the year before that. Someone sang Stupid with Love, which I think is, like, a fun choice, although piano was hard for that song because there's a lot of piano, so, like, she was kind of dreading the piano.
Did she do, like, the opt up kind of at the end that they do on tour?
No. I wish. I know.
Like that one, you know what I mean?
Wait. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. No, because the cut was kind of strange from
that's hard.
What I remember. We got I Can't Say No, which is, like, also a good character acting moment. We got a song from Shrek that wasn't Who I'd Be, which will lead me into my obsession in 1 second, but it was what was the song called? I was like, he sounded great singing it. Oh, When Words Fail. It was kind of nice because, like, he in his medley was Lola in Kinky Boots.
Oh, amazing.
And then singing this song with, like, red long nails, and it's like Shrek, like, singing about his feelings. Like, I really appreciated that.
Commit to the bit.
And then we had In My Dreams Anastasia, which I feel like is becoming a classic Jimmy song. And then we had someone sing Stranger from Big Fish, and I thought he was going to win. So
interesting.
A little bit more offbeat. We've had years where we've had Wondering and It All Fades Away in the same set of solos.
Yeah, and then, like, Santa Fe.
Yeah. You know who sang Santa Fe? Because I went back to watch his. Casey Likes.
Of course he did. Of course he did. We just saw Matt Doyle sing Santa Fe last week, so...
Yes, we did.
We're in the zone right now.
There was also... I also watched Antonio singing Lost in the Wilderness, which, you know what? A good song choice. No one has really sung that.
Okay, a lot of people, like, I feel like a lot of people audition with Lost in the Wilderness, but I was randomly on Spotify looking at the Children of Eden cast recording, and only, like, 2 songs are available in Canada. All we can see is, like, Lost in the Wilderness and one other song.
I have that downloaded. Wait, is there a Children of Eden concert happening? Am I making that up?
There's something happening with Children of Eden, but I can't remember.
Isn't it with,
exactly
like, Norm Lewis and Jordan Fisher?
That sounds right. That sounds right.
I think it's happening. I think that's what Jordan left Sweeney for. So we might be getting Children of Eden eventually on Broadway. Okay, but to lead into my obsession, I can't believe we haven't talked about this because it happened so long ago, but I guess because we didn't watch Miscast live this year, we actually had no
also we've been busy.
Opportunity to talk about this. But my obsession this week, which is like a very crappy video on YouTube that someone took from their fundraising table at Miscast 2023, and it's of Rachel Zegler singing Who I'd Be from Shrek. There was like a week when I think you and I like sent this around a couple times of like, have you heard this? And then I was like, yes, I heard this. And then you would send it back to be like, have you heard this? I'm like, yes, I've heard this.
As soon as I saw her at the microphone and she was in green, I'm like,
the Green Reformation 2-piece?
I'm like, she's singing Who I'd Be. Like, there's no other thing she could be singing right now. She is keeping Shrek the Musical alive, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah. And thankfully, because honestly, like, I think about this all the time. We've talked about this song many times on this podcast, but like, what a great song. It is such a well-crafted song. One of Janine's best. Literally one of Janine's best. And like, you talked about this, I think, on our like way back one episode, but like, Brian Darcy James is acting when he sings this song, and like, he doesn't need to be because he's wearing
I put down my helmet.
Makeup.
I put down my helmet.
But obviously Rachel sounds so amazing on this. She's like done it the octave up. Mm-hmm. But like, even she's acting on this. Like, it's just a song that like lets you act on it. Honestly, my favorite moment of the entire performance is like sitting behind her is Bonnie Milligan, because she was also in Miscast. Tony Award winner Bonnie Milligan, because she was in Miscast this year too. And there are like moments when Rachel is singing and Bonnie is just like making like stink face, which is like in the best possible way of like, ew, why do you sound that good? Yeah. Like, it's disgusting that you sound that good. And it's really like fun to watch her. But yeah, there's so many videos from Miscast that I never saw this year because
I know,
like, Miscast, since the pandemic, you really haven't been serving us
because they're charging people, which is fair.
I respected that I could have paid to watch the live stream, but if I wasn't available the one night of the live stream, how am I supposed to watch? No, how am I supposed to watch these videos?
Really? I feel like in previous years it's been available for longer.
Well, they used to put the individual performances on YouTube.
Well, now they want you to pay.
I know. It's still a dream of mine to go to Miscast. It's also a dream of mine to go to the Jimmys. So yeah, that's our obsession of the week. That's also our Act 2 opening numbers. I'm like, what is our next episode? Is it Hadestown? I think it's Hadestown.
It might be.
Pending you seeing it.
If I get to see Hadestown soon.
But in the meantime, you can listen to all of our other episodes. As we said previously, we're also heading to Stratford this summer. There's like a lot that's going on in the next like few weeks. There's a lot that's like on wish lists to see. So you can keep up with us by subscribing to our podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. We'd really appreciate it if you left us a rating and a review on Apple iTunes, and you can also subscribe to us on YouTube and leave us a comment there.
And you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Off2BOA Podcast. That's with the number 2. And let us know if there's any Act 2 openers that we missed. Sometimes I feel like we have so many blind spots, so I want to hear about your faves.
Yeah, my like basic of basic top fives here.
We're
trying, but it's all we listen to.
No, it is hard. There's so much out there. And I feel like my blind spots are really exposed whenever we do episodes like this. I'm like, there's so much I'm missing, so much I don't know.
Yeah. And we'll see you guys next time.
Bye.